Welcome to another episode of the Hamza Learning Podcast. I'm your host, Hamza, and today we're diving into a skill that's often overlooked but super important, listening. And joining me is Sara, an expert English tutor. How are you, Sara?
Hi, Hamza. I'm doing great, thanks for having me again. Listening is such a crucial part of language learning, and I'm excited to talk about it today.
Absolutely. Listening is such a key part of learning a language. You can't have a conversation without understanding the other person first, right?
That's right. Listening is often the first step to understanding how a language is spoken naturally. It helps you pick up on pronunciation, intonation, and the rhythm of English speech.
Right, but for many learners, listening is actually one of the hardest skills to improve. So, Sara, why do you think that is?
One big reason is that real-life conversations aren't like what you hear in textbooks. Native speakers often speak fast, use slang, or link words together, which can be difficult for learners to follow if they're not used to it.
That makes sense. And I've heard a lot of learners say they get frustrated because they can understand some words but not the full sentence. What can they do to improve this?
They should start by exposing themselves to English as much as possible, but not just any English. It should be content that they find interesting and engaging. Whether it's podcasts, audiobooks, or YouTube videos, when you're interested, you're more likely to stay focused.
Great advice. It's true that learning English in a classroom is different from real-life conversations. What should learners do to get used to those natural, fast-paced conversations?
Absolutely. It's also helpful to listen to a variety of speakers. Each person has their own accent, tone, and speaking speed. The more you hear, the better you'll get at understanding different types of English.
Exactly. And I think using authentic materials like podcasts, movies, and even TV shows is a fun way to improve listening. What's your take on that?
That's spot on, Hamza. Authentic materials allow learners to hear how English is really spoken, not just the formal language you might find in textbooks. Plus, you can learn new vocabulary in context, which makes it easier to remember.
Totally agree. I often tell learners to repeat what they hear. Even if they can't understand every word, just listening to the rhythm and flow of native speech can help a lot.
Repetition is key. Listening to the same podcast or show more than once allows you to catch words or phrases you missed the first time. And if you can, try repeating those phrases out loud to practice pronunciation.
So, would you say that practicing listening to English every day, even for 10 to 15 minutes, can make a big difference over time?
Absolutely. Listening for just 10 or 15 minutes a day can train your ear and make a noticeable difference over time. Consistency is more important than listening for hours at a time.
Right. Another question I get is, should I focus more on British English, American English, or another accent? What's your opinion on that?
It's a good question. I usually recommend focusing on one accent at the beginning, especially if it's the one you're most likely to use or hear. But, over time, it's helpful to expose yourself to a range of accents so you can understand English speakers from all over the world. Exactly. At the end of the day, understand.
Yeah, that's a great point. At the end of the day, it's about being able to understand and communicate in English, no matter the accent. So, what are some specific exercises learners can try to improve their listening skills?
Exactly. At the end of the day, understanding different accents can only make you a more confident and versatile speaker. One exercise I recommend is transcribing. You can listen to short clips of audio and try writing down what you hear. It forces you to pay attention to every detail.
That's a fantastic strategy. Breaking things down into smaller, manageable chunks can make a huge difference. Before we wrap up, what would you say is the one key takeaway for improving listening skills in English?
Another good exercise is shadowing. That's where you play a short piece of audio and try to speak along with it at the same time. It helps you match the rhythm, intonation, and even the emotion behind the words. The main takeaway is to be patient and consistent. Listening skills don't improve overnight, but with regular practice, you'll start to notice that you can understand more and more.
Awesome. Thanks so much for your insight, Sara.
Thanks, Hamza. It's always a pleasure to be on the podcast, and I hope everyone takes away something useful today.
Alright, that's it for today's episode of the Hamza Learning Podcast. Keep practicing, and as always, keep enjoying the journey of learning English. See you next time.